How do you make your life easier? Now, there are a multitude of ways that we can answer that question, but how often do our choices, our mindsets, the things that we say or do actually make our life more difficult? The poet Tagore says, "The burden of the self is lightened when I laugh at myself." So even that of going, you know what, I screwed up, let me laugh at myself. But what about when we kind of persist? So the philosopher Cicero says, any man is liable to err, only a fool persists in error. So it's a sense of, yeah, we all absolutely screw up. But when we persist in making the decisions over and over again that aren't really helping, in fact, maybe they're actually making our life worse, that there's a sense of only a fool persists in those errors. And Merriam-Webster defines fool as a person lacking in judgment or prudence, lacking in common powers of understanding or reason. And just right there in that definition of reminding ourselves what prudence is, the ability to govern and discipline oneself by the use of reason. So right there, a person lacking in judgment or prudence, lacking in common powers of understanding or reason. All of us can make those decisions. All of us screw up, but how often are we getting into unhealthy, unhelpful kinds of patterns? We find a little bit of wisdom of this in Proverbs when it says, "A stone is heavy and sand weighs much, but the nuisance of fools is heavier than both." A recognition of just how heavy it is when we persist in error, when we persist in lacking judgment, when maybe it's not just our decisions, but who we kind of surround ourselves with, of how we are developing a mindset for approaching things and what actually needs to change. What are the things that we need to say, no more with doing? James Baldwin says, be careful what you set your heart upon, for it will surely be yours. Right? We set our heart upon that, we fixate on it, and that becomes our reality. And so when we fixate and persist in lacking of judgment, persist in errors, and aren't willing to change course, we can find ourselves making our lives more difficult, of carrying burdens far heavier than anything else. And so what are we willing to change? What are the mindsets? What are the actions? What are the words? What are the things we need to say, you know what, I'm not going to persist in that anymore. I'm going to set my heart on something different. Pray with me. God of wisdom, sometimes life can feel so overwhelming. Help us to be discerning in how we persist in things that are unhealthy and keep weighing us down. Give us the awareness to know what we need to let go of, to change our relationships, and to set our hearts upon things that are good and bring us peace. Amen.